Hi folks. So today I'm going to present on rendering variants, and before that, let me share some of background. Uh, yeah, so I'm a solution architect at BigWorks. I'm a dad. I have experience of 13 plus years in IT industry and almost 10 years in Sitecore. Certifications I have done. Yeah, certifications. My certifications I have done in Microsoft Azure Architect, Sitecore Commerce, and technologies I deal with is Microsoft, Sitecore, Azure, and open source. So yeah, new technologies attracts me a lot, and I'm really passionate about new challenges. That's it from my side. Some of my contributions so far in Sitecore is like I have a blog where I have started blogging now. Uh, I have roughly five or six modules in Marketplace. One of them was very famous, which was Publish Q Viewer. I also have a repository which you will find useful later on. Okay, so today's agenda will be introduction to rendering variants, demonstration of rendering variants and their usage, personalization, and also like custom components, and we'll share a real project experience, and then we will have Q&A. So basically, Sitecore SXA is the main purpose of that tool is to accelerate your development, and it has lots of features which you can utilize to build your website. And basically, what Sitecore has done is like over like 10 years or 12 years of experience, they have gathered, okay, what are common requirements, what are common components, and they packaged into one uh, software, you can say, which is Accelerator or SXA. And one of a gem from that module is rendering variants. I have seen like people don't understand a rendering variant a lot, and then they don't utilize the full capability of uh, SXA. So basically, what is a rendering variant? So in layman term, this is a definition of a sidecar. Like variant may make a rendering appear differently or may make them show different content. So this image says itself like there is a one character, but it looks
Hey, Mrunal.
differently. Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you. We're still seeing the first slide. Is that what we're supposed to see?
No.
All right. We're still seeing the first slide.
Just a moment. Uh, okay. Uh, is this okay?
Yeah. I don't know how to describe the slide, but yeah, I guess.
Okay. Sorry, folks. It looks like some technical issue there, but okay. So you haven't missed anything here. Basically, this is what rendering variant means. Like there is one character which looks differently and appears differently and behaves differently. So that's all variants all about. Now, if we want to compare that in technical terms, like so far before SXA, we used to create a component, and there was one of a part of our component was CS file, where we used to write our HTML code or razor view. So rendering variant is exact presentation of your CS file, but that is managed in CMS and not in physical file. So I will go through a demo as well. But before that, I would like to raise few of things here, like personalization. So far we have done a personalization with content. So based on persona or based on some rule conditions, we personalize users content, or maybe replacing components But here, when I say personalization with renderings, is basically it's the same component, but still it's a different look and feel based on your rules applied. Later on, we will discuss about customization. So normally, when I will discuss about SXA is about non-customization thing, but then I will show you like, okay, what customization means in SXA. And okay, so let's start our demo. In demo, we will go through a variants, rule engine, personalization, and custom components. So this is the demo I created for uh, Sydney User Group SUGCon AU, and it's still the same. I have just updated some of content, but basically I just would like to show you what rendering variants means. Okay, so in this demo, I have used search components, search result component, and you can see that it basically fetches the data from my CMS, and it displays the result, and it displays all of the cartoon characters. Now let's quickly see how it's set up at my end in terms of content. So I have a home page, variants page, which is actually our search result page. And then it has characters like this, which are again an independent pages in Sitecore. And we can see that it has fields like real name, image, intro, then a gender, publisher, character, and power as well. So why I'm sharing this field information is because you will see like how we are consuming these fields in our rendering variant. Now, this is just one component, search result component, and I can show you like how this same component and same content is represented in a different way. So this is one of a view. If I change this view, then we have a list view here, where it's the same information like title, intro, and image of character. This is third view. It's still same content, just a different representation. One more. Right. So it's as I mentioned, like what variant means, like it's a still same component, same content, but represented in a different way. And the main important thing about this is like I have developed this whole demo without touching CS HTML file. Everything has been configured in a Sitecore and everything has been structured in a Sitecore. So I haven't done any development here. And I'll show you like when you need customization and when you should go for. But if you want to take a benefit of rendering variants, then you should try to implement your component respecting rendering variants, then it will be really helpful for you and for your clients as well. because normally what marketers will do is like they will use whatever component SXA provides or whatever components you have developed for them, and they will just do a drag drop, set the content, and their website should run uh, as per their expectation. So this is just an example where I have set different content and different component to represent like, okay, you can achieve these different versions of output. Let's check like how this is configured in backend and what exactly it means when I say rendering variant. So your rendering variant resides in presentation section, and that is another child item of presentation is a rendering variants. And this is where all components rendering variants resides. So they categorize based on component. And as I mentioned, I'm using search result component here. So you can see that I have 4 variants created here: carousel, horizontal, rotate, and vertical, which resembles these. So first one is just a normal one, which is a horizontal. This is a vertical. This is a rotate, and this is a carousel. And you can see that like I have fetched the information from the template which I shared with you previously. So here you can see that item title, this is a power field, this is a real name field, gender, publisher, and human or character type. One of interesting thing you might notice that I have stripped this intro text to limited text here, and that is also done in Sitecore without writing any CS HTML file for these. So you can literally write some of code within CMS, and you don't need to create CS HTML files for that. Obviously, you may have to add some external libraries or JavaScript or CSS, which you can upload in Sitecore SXA, and that can give you this behavior. So here I have used uh, Slick Carousel, and just for a demonstration, because Sitecore has its own carousel as well. But I prefer Slick over a default one just because we had a requirement in our one of our live website and which was not fulfilled by uh, Sitecore SXA's carousel out of box. So let's check how each variant looks like. So in this is a carousel variant, and basically when I say variant, so this is an exact replication of your traditional CS HTML file, where you create a div container like this, and as you can see that I have decorated it with my class, which shows image and a title. So you can see that like, okay, here I have image and title. If just for an instance, if I want to show this image below and title about the image, then I just have to move these elements here and save and then just publish. And if I refresh the page, it will have a title about the image. So it's literally, I haven't done any HTML coding here in CS HTML file. I'm just using out of the box components. And here you can specify like what element you want to use. And so basically this is a title field or field type. So rendering variant has a different field types here, which you can use to render the content of a page, or you can traverse the content tree. So I will quickly walk through these fields and their benefits. So field field this particular field is used to display the content of item fields out of the box. So let's say title. Let's observe title field. Here I have specified like I want to show a title field wrapped with div. You can put a prefix and suffix as well, like this, and if you refresh, then you can see that okay, this is a title, and so it's a prefix and suffix thing. This is mostly used field type. uh, then next one is date. So if you have any date field and if you want to show a date, it has a different settings. Like you can show format of particular date. So you have to specify a field here, and then you can specify format, in which format you want to show, and it will show that particular content. If that field doesn't exist, it won't show anything on screen, and it will hide itself. It's similar for image. So here I have just specified like it's an image field. You don't need to specify whether it's an image field or not. You just specify field name, and it will automatically decide internally like what kind of field type it is and how to represent on screen. So then let's look at horizontal, uh, which is image and then name and character type. So when I say horizontal, that means it's this one. So image, name, and type. And here the interesting thing is like here I have used token. So you can see that I have just used dollar name. And like in Sitecore, you can create your own tokens. In SXA also, you can create your own tokens and you can use those tokens here. We used one of a token for our website was like price. So token are very useful in case where you want to do calculations kind of thing, or where your code requires some kind of runtime information. So one of the example we used on our one of our live website was like there was a product and we want to calculate its price with like applying discount and applying commissions on it, and finally it will show just a price amount on screen. So you can use this token anywhere in rendering variant and it will show the information. I'll demonstrate that later on. Then there is another field type is HTML tag, which is literally like you can add HTML tag, any tag you want to add. So in this case, if I want to add, let's say, uh, div, and I can just say like I want, sorry, let's say BR tag. I want to put a BR and save it, and it will simply carousel. So you can see that I've just add another tag here, which is a BR. So variant is very useful. It just represents your CS HTML file and you can completely control its structure. In some situations where you don't have any value, then by default it will, if that field doesn't exist, it will just hide itself. But let's say if you want to add conditions like these, like render if empty, if you just remove these, if it has empty field, it won't render on screen. So there are lots of controls you have. Normally, this is what we used to do in CS HTML, where you write if else condition, like if value is empty, then just hide that section. If value is there, then show that. So this is how you control. Then there is another field type is like a model, which is really useful here. So basically, model is like uh, you let's imagine that you have item class, and you want to access like dollar item dot paths dot path or dollar item dot name. So this sort of thing. So it basically acts on object and its property. I'll demonstrate that one in like later on, because I have another variant created for that. So I will cover that in that section. Then placeholder. Placeholder is simply just, it will add a placeholder on screen. You have to specify key and it will add a placeholder on screen, and then user can add whatever component in that section from content editor or experience editor. Query is something like you can write your own uh, normal query. So if I don't have any example here, but let me show you what it means. And here, literally, you can build your query. You can write something like this: query uh, get, and then you can say dot dot. That means it will try to get all of your child items from the given context. Mostly this is used in case where you want to show the children's of particular item. And this is very useful as well. A query has also one of a field which says limit the number of child. So you can say I want to only show a four children's within the given item. Then it will act upon that, and it will basically it's a normal Sitecore query which you can write here. And then later on you can loop through all of the children's, and you can do nested rendering variant for them. Then there is a reference, which is also very important field. So reference is something like if you have a multi-value field, that will you can point that multi-value field here. For an instance, yeah, it's taking some time to load, but let's say Okay. So here I can say like this is my multi list value, and if I want to reference this particular field and then I want to loop through these particular items, then I can do that. So let's do it quickly in one of a list. Let's do in horizontal where we are. Okay, I think yeah, and cards image name and I want to add a section. So section is mostly, it behaves like a wrapper or div class. You can still assign any tag you want. And in that, I want to insert a reference field, which is like, okay, friends. And here I have specified friends, and I just want to say like how you can control like how many results you want to show. If you don't specify, it will loop through all and it will show all of the friends here. And then you can say loop through each friend, and I want to show their title field. Okay, I think I have choose, yeah, okay, sorry, I choose just a wrong rendering variant. But here you can see that now I can loop through the multi-list field, and I can loop through each of their item. So I can show that I can show other informations if we want. So this is really a powerful and useful feature in SXA. Then we have another field called responsive image. So basically, a responsive image is very useful, and what it does is like it shows an image, but you can specify a breakpoints for your images, like at 300 pixels. I want to show uh, this much of size of an image. Then if it's more than 960, then I want to show this particular version of image. So if you have observed, then on home page, I have used this component, and you can inspect that it basically generates an image with uh, uh, info, information like breakpoints, and when you resize your window, it will resize automatically for you. So if I resize, it will try to shrink itself automatically. Then section we already gone through. Template is very useful field. Template is kind of open open area where you can do lots of things here. You can just write pure HTML, or you can write some kind of scriptings here. So I'll show you some of the fields which I have used here, and you can do some sort of programming as well. Template is a very powerful field type. Uh, so in rotate, yeah. Here you can see that I have, yeah, here you can see that I have write a programming here, little bit sort of programming. This is the way you write some of your C# code. And in template field, you can access given item in this manner, like $item, that will refer whatever item is in context. So in this particular instance, in rotate instance, when I say particular context, that means a Barry Allen, that is a contextual item in this case. And what I'm saying is I want to fetch a power field from a given item. and that will read the property into this particular variable. This is how you declare a variable in template. Here I have declared another variable called limit to 70 characters. Then I'm writing a little bit of C# code here, and I'm stripping the given text uh, uh, to 70 words. So you can see that here I have stripped that text into text to 70 words or 70 characters here. And then I have also add HTML, pure HTML, but where I have used a power variable which I declared earlier, but also I am able to access items field like real name. Here you can see that item dot. So these are different way you can read items field. If it has a space in it, field name has a space in it, you have to use this particular version. If there is no space, you can straight away use like item $item dot field name. Here again, it has a space in them, so this is another version of character type. And here we can see that it's a character type, human. All of the informations are coming through item. And then I have used, as I mentioned, like you can use a plain HTML. Here, this is just a plain HTML, uh, which shows three social icons here. Uh, then another field is component. Sorry, another. Sorry, yeah. Another field type is a text field type, which is literally just a text. You can add any text you want, and it will get display on screen. Uh, so in this particular case, if I want to add, let's say, text, and you can just say text, and this was rotate, so it's refresh, and you can say that there is a text uh, text has been added to everywhere. Then the last, I believe, the last field type is a component. This is also very powerful, and this is only introduced, I guess, in 1.8. So here you can add another component, another rendering, and you can configure it to have its data source configured from here itself. And I have used that on other pages or other renderings, which I will demonstrate later on. But this is all about rendering fields, and they are very powerful. You can write almost anything, or you can control almost any HTML from here itself. There is a additional thing which I haven't discussed yet is like uh, you can actually apply rules on field. So here you can see that I have applied rules, and let me show you an example here. So here you can see that Barry Allen is a human, and his gender is male. It shows a blue color. But if we see a woman or female, then it shows a pink color here. And this is controlled using a rule engine. So you can apply rules on individual field types. And one of the example here I have used is like I have specified like where the gender field is equal to female, then then only then you show or apply these styles. You can apply styles or any data attribute in this section. Almost every field has this functionality like data attributes. And when I say data attributes, so it's literally add a data attribute like this: style, color deep, and pink. So if I want to add another data attribute, let's say data You want to add another, you want to add, let's say, some additional information which is required by your JavaScript or something like that. So let's say data, uh, again, ID for an instance, and you can use something like dollar uh, item dot ID. I have to check this, but this is the syntax. Or it's an at the rate. Yeah, I'll show you. I have implemented that in other places, but because there is a difference between dollar and at the rate. One is used to access the item's field value, whereas another is used to access item's model property. For an instance, dollar item dot paths. So I'll definitely demonstrate that. Uh, Another thing I have used is like if you, let's say you want to show a background image, then this is the way you can add them in attribute where I have specified style, and you can specify background image URL equal to, again, I'm fetching, yeah, see? So again, yeah, it's a dollar and just straight away field name. So that was my bad. But this is how you used. So I'm fetching this image information from items field value, and you can say that like this is how I have used, and you can see that it is getting generated in HTML like this. Okay, right. Uh, so yeah, this is really uh, a powerful thing. And there is another feature in rendering variants is like this is called fallback. So when when you should use this is like what it means. First of all, is like here I'm referring title field. Here I'm referring a title field. But let's imagine that given item has no title field, or maybe their value is empty. In such case, you want to fall back to display name. So this is the way you add a field, another field type, specifying like, okay, if that the title is empty, I want to read a display name, and it will fall back to that. Okay, I'll show you now. Let's jump on that detail page. Okay, so here it says hello Bangalore, and this information is again coming from a template field. So on this page, I'm using a page content component, and the purpose of page content component is it will show all of the information from the given item. There are other components in SXA like promo component, which requires a data source where you have to pick up a data source and it will render those data source. Whereas a page content is it will apply on given item. It can also apply on given data source, but if you don't specify any data source, it will just use the given or current item. So let's check a rendering variant in page content. Uh, Here we can see that I have image. And this is what I was referring like a responsive image. And here I have specified like I want to show a image which is specified in image field, but this is my breakpoint for responsiveness, where it says max width. When it's 320, I want an image size of 280. When it's screen size is 480, I want to show a 480 pixel, else 300 pixel. And this is basically a breakpoint which I have specified. So let's observe this particular field. And here you can see that it generates an HTML for you with uh, can we confirm with members like they are able to see clearly, or should I zoom it?
Yeah, I see it fine.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes, it's fine.
Thank you. So here we can see that it generates an HTML in a way where it says image, and it specifies a max width or breakpoints. And why it's useful is, let's say I will clear this cache and we'll say only image. So if I refresh my page, it will only request the required version of image. So if I'm on mobile, it will load the image particularly with those dimensions at runtime. And, okay, it's too big. But here we can see that here it passes 455 and width 477 based on my screen size. So if I change my screen size, you can see that it is requesting with different dimensions. If I increase, yeah. So now once images, different version of images are loaded, uh, it will keep that in cache. But it's very useful here. You can see that first initially it downloaded the version with 65.8 KB, whereas when it's a desktop, it downloads the bigger size of image. So this is really useful feature and field type uh, given by Sitecore SXA. Now this is a page component, and here I'm just displaying the information. This is my intro. This is a normal text. I have just added random text here. And here I'm just showing all of the information from the given character. But here you can see that I'm showing image DC. Now there are two options. Like I can attach this image to every character, and I have to duplicate that information that many number of times. But what if I just store one copy of this image in one common place, and I can just reference that image for all of the characters. And the way I have done here is I have used a component field in this case, where I have used image, and I have configured that component to use data source as a DC image. So let's see how it's configured here. So this is a detail page, and yeah, okay, I'll continue that. And here you can see that DC publisher, and I have used a component called image reusable. When you click here, you can choose any rendering from the SXA, or you can choose your own rendering. And then here you can configure that rendering the way you do in a presentation detail section. So here I have specified like I want to use the placeholder. This is something I have used a placeholder field, and I have specified a placeholder as a publisher, and I'm assigning data source. So similarly, I have created a Marvel publisher here, which which points to a Marvel image. So now if I don't put rules here, it will show both of the information on same every page. So let's try this. It's a publisher and Marvel. Let's clear this. Let's go back. So now you can see that it shows both of the information like DC and Marvel. But our goal is like whenever the character is from DC publisher, we only want to show a DC image, and when the character is from Marvel, we want to show a Marvel character. So if I go back and if I choose a Marvel, here you can see that it only shows Marvel image, but not a DC. And the reason is that because on DC I have applied a rule, it should only display when the field value is DC. So if I edit this rule again, and if I say field value, sorry, if I say, okay. So in this case, if I refresh, there will be no change. But if I go back to DC, then it will only have DC version. So as you see, like this feature is really powerful. I think, and this is only available, I guess, from 1.8. So this makes a big difference if you are with the latest version of SXA. Uh, that is always the best advice. You should upgrade your SXA version continuously to have all these benefits. Now, as you can see that we have discussed here rule engine, and similarly you can apply uh, rules for personalization as well. This is almost kind of a personalization where I'm saying if particular field is this, you can also configure something like if user's persona or profile is matching with a given profile type, then just show this field or don't show this field. So you can handle basically a personalization within the variant. When I say within the variant, that means you can apply rules within the given variants. From content editor point of view, how you can change the variants. So in this case, let's go to publish experience editor. Okay, so this is how it's configured, and this is a search result. And you can see that in SXA there is a field which shows like okay which variant you want to apply. So that is a really useful thing here, that if you configure, like let's imagine like you created a 5 different variants for your client, and client can just choose the variant while editing their content, and that content will going to display in such manner. Okay, so let me just check if I have covered everything for you. And yes, okay. So now you can see the benefits of variants. Uh, one of a thing might not have observed here is like a title field. uh, you might have ended up in SXA where client wants to show browser title field based on their field type or content of the page. And in such cases, we normally end up with creating a custom component. But in SXA, browser is basically a variant, and that's really a powerful feature of SXA. And here you can see that if I'm at home page, it just shows like SUGCON or Australia 2019. And when I go on search page, it shows a variance demo, right? So it fetches those information normally from navigation field, so or title field. So here you can see that it refers a title field and a variant demo, and same for here title SUCON Australia 2019. But if I go at Barry Allen, there is a title which says Barry Allen, right? And here, when I go to Barry Allen's page, it is actually showing something different. Barry Allen by publisher DC Comic. So I have configured my title field so that it reads value from of I field from a given item. And how it's configured is like you go in setting, and in setting there is a browser title. By default, it reads from a title field, but I have added here uh, because browser title is again a rendering variant. So we have all the benefits of rendering variant where you can add all sort of field types there, and you can consume. So in this case, I have consumed a template field, and I'm saying, okay, I want to show a title, but then also I want to prefix it with by publisher and the items publisher information. So this is really a useful feature in SXA. Okay, so far we have discussed about like, okay, what Sitecore gives you an out of Sitecore SXA gives you an out of box functionality here. But let's talk about customization. Uh, mm, Before that, let me show you one more information here. Details. And uh, we have been seeing this alert like hello Bangalore, but this is one of another feature of template field is like you can write scripts as well, and that's why I kept this here so we don't get forget. You can write, so in many cases you will require to write a script for which you don't want to wait to load all of the scripts. You just want to act on the you just want to run your script in line. So this is a way you can execute your inline scripts. So now let's talk about customization. So as I mentioned, you can do a personalization within the variant, but not between the variants. So when I say I want to do uh, like I want to do a personalization between these and these, at the moment there is no out-of-box functionality in Sitecore SXA, and for that I have developed one module which will allow user or client to change the variant from personalized screen, and it will display the variant accordingly. So let me demonstrate that. So far we have been seeing this demo because I configured that with GeoIP. Like if if my IP is from India, I just want to show this page without any restrictions. And I have used this particular uh, GeoIP Sitecore Analytics Test utility, which helps me. Like, this is how I have just configured at the moment, is like India with this IP address. And my personalization rules has been set up like if any IP starts with 123, uh, just to show this particular variant, and your audience are actually seeing the version which is personalized already. Let me. So how it's configured. So if I remove this, if I say I'm visiting from, let's say, another country or default, and if I say new visit, you can see actually it's a password protected. And this is where SXA really comes into picture. So this is another variant where I have used login component in this case. And I have applied personalization rule, like if user is not coming from India and user is anonymous, then I want to password protect my content. You have seen this kind of situation in LinkedIn as well. When you see someone's profile without login, it will only show you a limited information. And once you log in, let's say demo, then it actually shows complete information in a different format. So here user is logged in now and they can see the information. And as I mentioned, here this is something as I promised, like I will show you like how you can use the model to display the information. So here I'm showing I have used dollar item path. Here I'm just using ID property of item object, and I have displayed this content totally different. So these are the situations. Let's say your website has SSO functionality implemented, and you want to implement something like when my particular customer is coming from this company and it falls into this company, I want to represent the content according to their look and feel. So this is an exact example of SXA and personalization and applying rendering variant. Let's see how it's configured in backend. So first of all, here I have created uh, three variants for the detail page, and the one which we watched previously was a detail page with India. And the one which we saw with login, uh, I have just used a background image. Now this is another example of a template where you can just randomly use any image from any another source. Pretty much you can write any HTML here, and that's where it loads a random image in background. And then I have used image field from the given item, and DC or Marvel publisher. We already gone through this kind of situation where it shows the uh, image of publisher conditionally, and then a publisher is just a placeholder. And in div section, I have just used a real name, which is this is a real name of the character, paragraph. So let me log out. And here you can see that I had this is a real name, this is a little bit information, and then I have used a login component here, which is again an out-of-box component, and I have configured it with information like what is the data source of my login component. Uh, so once I logged in, it will show me a full version, which is this, where I have just used again a background image like this, image section, So let's log in again. And let's see like how I have used this model. This is a model property field value, and this is the way you use item, path, and so here you can access any model. By default, there is a base class for rendering variant model, and it has an item property on it. And that's where I'm accessing item.paths.path. So imagine if you have a custom object or POCO object created, and if you are using that as a rendering model, you can access pretty much any property of that given model here. This is again, I'm accessing $ID. So this is the way you can use inbuilt tokens. This is a text field. I have just used that as a normal text, general information. And these are again a normal field where I have just specified like, okay, read this particular field from given element. Let's see how it's configured. So in SXA, you can create a page designs, and page design can hold a partial designs. Concept of partial design is like you have a group of components for given page type. It's basically grouping of common components. Let's see detail. And here you can see that on detail page, I have used page content and HTML snippet. I'm not sure why I have used that. Must be purpose of some demo. But let's see, and personalization. So this is the feature I have extended. This is not out of the box functionality from SXA, because my idea behind this rendering variant is like they are actually a component with different HTML. Then why should not we have a personalization on rendering variants? And that's why I extended this functionality of a Sitecore, and I have used in this manner, so that yeah, a normal author, a content author, can configure their component and they can utilize or extend the benefit of rendering variant. And here you can see that I have said like a where if current user is anonymous or not anonymous, then show the detailed page view 2 version of variant. Or if a person is coming from India, then I want to show a variant, Indian variant here. Or by default, just show a login screen, just show a protected content. So that's how I have implemented. Later on, I will share repository URL as well. If you guys are interested, uh, then you can use it. Now let's talk about like, okay, why we need a custom thing, or in which situation, like if everything is out of box thing, like then what, especially for developers, they may think like, what's our role if there is everything which which user can do pretty much in SXA, then what's our role? And I want to show you some of the situation, like in which situation you can do is like, you can see here, these are filtered because I have used a search result component, and search has, let me show you how normal it looks like. So this is a live website, and this is completely built on Sitecore SXA, SXA version 1.7. And normally, this is our search. Yeah, this is our search page. And this is, we have used Sitecore's out-of-box SXA component. So this is SXA short component, search sort component. This is a filter component, and this is another filter component. So when we filter them, it will filter the result. This is a search result component, which I'm demonstrating. So out-of-box components looks like this. And one of our client requires a different look and feel. Another thing is like some of out-of-box components doesn't support rendering variants. So in this case, these filters doesn't support rendering variants out of box. That means that templates are hard coded into CS HTML file or maybe their JavaScript. And I see that's a kind of a limitation. But if you see on positive side, then in Sitecore SXA, you can create your own custom components. And the whole purpose of SXA is like if you don't like any particular component but you want similar functionalities, you clone that component and just modify according to your needs. And you can see in this case, I I have just copied that component, but I'm controlling its look and feel from CMS. So this behaves like a radio button, whereas it's the same component with little bit configuration. This behaves as a multi-select. Also, now because these filters supports a rendering variant, so imagine I have used title here, I have used image here. I can put as many as thing inside this filter, and it will have different look and feel. Here I have just put the text. I haven't used an image. But you can see like this is a custom thing, and there are lots of options in SXA and lots of situations where you think like you need a custom component, but it's very easy to customize them. And for this as well, I have a repository which I will share a URL at the end of demo. Let's see how it's configured. Because they are our components, we have to go to presentation, rendering variants. Normally site core components resides here, like search box. This is a search box. This is a search result, and I created our own like icon filter. And here you can see that I created two versions. Uh, where it shows a title from the title field, and it shows in filter it shows icon value and title. So this basically represents uh, this filter. Another one is just a text version where it only shows title and filters information. And the way it's configured is like you go in, I think it's in facets. Yeah. And this is where I have configured like uh, basically they are facets. It will act on your given results. And here I have specified solar field value and publisher. And this is another type where I have specified like I want to filter on character type and type. But there is a data in data section, and filter, and you can see that character type, so it has a title field and a value, whereas in publisher it has title, image, and DC value. So I can extend these. I can even add images here for an instance. Let's put this, save this, and oops, I have to. Yeah, okay. It won't show because I'm using a variant text only. But if we want to make it happen, Then let's go variant publish. Let's select this. From here, I will say fall back to default. Yeah. And it will show you the image. Yeah. So you can see that this is also a custom thing. Also, you can, obviously this is out of scope for this presentation, but pretty much you can create your custom fields the way SXA has. So you can probably, I'll write another blog on that where you can see like how you can create a custom fields here and how easy it is to create and use them. So that's it from my side. We have 17 minutes for Q&A. I'm happy to answer all your questions. I hope you liked it. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mrunal. Does anyone have any questions? You can unmute yourself and ask if you have any questions. Right, so I'm not seeing anything right now.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Yes,
This
Naresh.
is Nare. Yeah, yeah. See, I just can just throw some more light on how we can customize the UI. Like you've been saying, like no, the carousel can be customized to use slick
So,
carousel.
yes, sorry. There is a disturbance in background. But let me show you. Okay, so I think you want to know that like how Slick is implemented here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So as I mentioned, you can upload your JavaScript or CSS, and the way you do here is like here we have used Slick JavaScript, and we have write some of our custom scripts here for ourselves. Like just a moment, not in this style. I think this is the one. So it's download. Okay, so we just uploaded Slick JS here, and we have write this small code where let me yeah okay where I have just write a small code where I say like whenever I see any class with Slick slide, uh, and once Sitecore search wizard gets load, I want to bind my carousel with Slick. And this is a small script I have attached here, and that will result in making this into a carousel. Have I answered you correctly?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one question. You have
Yes.
showcased data binding with all Sitecore data from Sitecore fields. What will be
Yes.
the best way to do make use of dynamic data using rendering variants? For example, if I'm getting some data from APIs, some third party or whatever.
Yes. Yes. So okay, and that's why I said like I want to write another blog. So we have a current situation at the moment is we are doing something similar here. Like we are getting JSON data from third party, and that is unstructured. Let's say, when I say unstructured, that means number of fields are not decided, right? Let's say array of images. So what we are doing is we are just storing that JSON structured data in one of our field, let's say text field. But now we want to show that data through rendering variant. Now there are two options. One is like you pretty much just emit that JSON data in one of a JavaScript variable, right, from template field, and then the designer has to just refer that object, and they have to write some kind of a templating mechanism to loop through that JSON data, and they can show that on screen. But we don't want to go with that approach. My first preference is always should go with rendering variants. So what we did, we created two custom fields. One we created for J array, which is a JSON array, and second field we created was a J object. And what we did was like we are actually parsing that JSON data on C# and creating a J object in memory, and we are passing that J object into an J object field type. And J object, now it's an object, you can pretty much access any property of that J object, or in this case, it's an image object, you can refer its URL property. So this is something I would like to demonstrate maybe in a future webinar, or I will write a blog post for that. But this is a particular case where you cannot find any matching field type, then it's a sign that you have to create your custom field for that situation.
Okay. I was thinking of another way. Let me know if this sounds good. I was trying to implement that in my current project. So what I was thinking is whatever component I have on the top, I can add some hidden fields with those values, and then using rendering variants without fields, just text or something, we can use text from the entire HTML structure, and the last part will be text, in which it will be just a tokens kind of thing, and using JavaScript we can replace the tokens with the hidden field values. That sounds proper, or you'll still think that it's not that good way to do it?
No, see, there is no proper way. First of all, let's say that there is no better best way kind of thing. But if you want to follow SXA rendering way, where user can create their own HTML structure and they can place the field data according to their needs, then I would not prefer JavaScript version. As I mentioned earlier, like initially we thought of like let's put this information and then JavaScript will take care of that. But in our case, we would like to handle complete HTML and representation of information. So we created a custom field. Your idea is not bad, but I would recommend you, if you search for SXA custom field type, I think that will answer your question.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right, so if you do have any questions, I think Mrunal's contact information is up on the screen right now, so feel free to reach out to him. We'll be sharing the recording of this session as well on our channel. So thank you so much, Mrunal, for taking the time. And thank you everyone for attending as well. All right.
Yeah, I'm available on this channel, so you can reach me out. If you find something better, share with me. I'm happy to learn. I'm always open to learn. Or if you need any help, just shoot me a message on these things, and I will try my best to reply you with solution. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.